Divorce can be messy, and if there are children involved, it can be messier still. Arguments over custody can rapidly become toxic and nasty, and it has been seen as a strong motive for murder, certainly in recent decades. And even when ex-spouses go to great lengths to cover their tracks, the lens of suspicion doesn't usually drift far from the current and past significant others, unless there is strong exculpatory evidence. One case where a past relationship had seemingly led to an amicable relationship between the exes is a case in point. In 2016 in Gresham, Oregon, it was the victim of a vicious attack that managed to call emergency services herself before finally succumbing to her injuries. Now, this started a year-long investigation where the truth eventually came to light. This is the case of Anastasia Annie Hester, and this is Murderous Crow. Anastasia Annie Hester was an Oregon native. Born Anastasia Diane Holmes, and known to her friends and family as Annie, she was born in 1981 and grew up in Gresham, Oregon, a suburb of Portland. Her father died when she was just a teenager, and then she was raised by her mother and her stepfather. One of her big loves was tabletop role-playing games, and with this in mind she often hung out at a local gaming shop in Gresham. And it was at this gaming shop that she met Matthew James Keone Hester, who was a fellow gaming enthusiast. Annie and Matt began dating and were married in 2008. And in November of 2011, their daughter was born. So far, so good, and so wonderfully geeky, I am proud to say. Annie wanted to be a stay-at-home mother and wife. But the marriage soon began to unravel. They tried having an open marriage on the condition that they remained honest about any affairs that they had. This did not work. Annie's friend James Morgenstern said after the fact, Annie found out that Matt had cheated on her at least once, going outside of the rules that they had set up. And at that point, she started talking about filing for divorce. Annie and Matt divorced in 2012. Annie was now a single mother, and she worked at a call centre in downtown Portland and moved into a one-room apartment with her daughter. Now, many marriages break down, and it is, of course, very, very sad. But ultimately, it should be about creating the best possible environment for the child or children, irrespective of anything else that might be going on. And Annie was committed to doing just that. That same friend, James Morgenstern, went on to say, Annie got full custody of her daughter, and Matt had his scheduled weekends. The one thing Annie did complain about with Matt was he was never good about paying his child support because he kept constantly losing his job. To help pay the rent, Matt took in a roommate, and this roommate happened to be single mother Angela Rose McCraw and her 3 children. You can see what's coming, can't you? Yes, you can. Within a month, they began a romantic relationship. Matt and Angela were married in 2014. And by coincidence, after this happened, Matt began petitioning for more time with his daughter. Do I think that Angela was instrumental in pushing Matt in this respect? You bet your sweet ass I do. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, even if that scorn happens by proxy. Up until this point, relations between the former couple was moderately amicable, even going to events together. But now Matt was starting to become belligerent, at least in terms of legal proceedings, at any rate. Now, going back to Annie, she was a perfectly ordinary woman trying to do her best for her daughter. She stayed out of trouble and effectively pulling out all the stops to make a good life for her daughter. But an issue, and a very serious one at that, happened in June of 2016. In the early morning hours of June the 10th, 2016, Annie made a frantic call to Gresham 911, saying that she'd been attacked inside her own apartment.
911.
Oh, I'm trying to kill me.
911, how can I help you?
I'm trying to kill me.
What happened?
I'm moving from first everybody.
Somebody tried.
Yeah.
Where is this person at now?
I'm not here.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yes. No.
Do you know the name of the person that did this to you?
No.
Are you bleeding a lot? Okay. I'm getting lots of help heading in that direction, okay? Can you tell me what your name is?
First responders arrived within minutes, and the 36-year-old was rushed to a nearby hospital where, despite their best efforts, she was later pronounced dead. In describing the wounds that Annie had suffered, Gresham Police Detective Aaron Turnage said, "The stab wounds ranged in depth of penetration from about half an inch to about 8 inches. The knives pierced all the vital organs." An autopsy by the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office determined that Annie died of homicidal violence and had been stabbed over 60 times. When detectives realized that Annie lived with a child, panic set in, as there was no sign of the little girl in the apartment that the crime had been committed in. But she was eventually located, as she was with her father at a pre-arranged visitation. Matt told investigators that he had picked her up the day before for the rest of the weekend. Matt and Angela at this point agreed to come in for police interviews.
But since Annie wasn't married, they started with her ex-husband, Matt Hester.
Yeah, go ahead and have a seat. I'll be with you in a minute.
As you can see, Matt seems to be having some trouble walking. This is due to an undiagnosed medical problem that has left Matt in constant pain and unable to walk.
And so I guess, obviously I told you at the house that your ex-wife is deceased. But you didn't say how or anything like that, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two.
Okay. She said that she had been stabbed. Officers responded down there. She had been injured. She was transported to the hospital, and she was pronounced dead at the hospital. And at this point, we're investigating this as homicide. Did your ex-wife say anything about having any problems with anyone?
I don't talk about her personal life.
When did you and Ann first meet?
We first met in 1999 through a mutual friend.
How are your feelings towards Ann?
I'm mostly indifferent. I want to deal with her as little as possible. I love being a dad.
What were you and Angela doing last night?
Sleeping.
Okay. Do you know what time you went to bed?
I usually get into bed around 10 o'clock.
Okay. And was Angela with you, or was she staying up doing other things?
She was with me in bed.
Have a seat right there.
Oh, okay. I was on the verge of falling asleep to some Criminal Minds.
When you guys are sleeping, who gets the inside and who gets the outside?
Matt's against the wall.
Any chance that Matthew could have gone anywhere sometime during the night?
Oh God, every time he moves, he wakes me up, so it's not a possibility. And I sleep literally right up against him in his arms.
If he would have gotten up out of bed, you would know it.
Most definitely.
Meanwhile, back at the crime scene, detectives were still gathering vital information, with Multnomah County Sheriff's Detective Kenneth Yohe saying, "We had observed that the air conditioner had been removed, and then from outside we could see what looked like a cinder block had been placed. From blood spatter analysis and crime scene evidence, detectives determined that Annie was laying in bed when she was attacked. She tried to escape and make her way to the front door when she was attacked again. Investigators found several bloody knives at the crime scene, and a bloody boot print was found on the floor. Detectives interviewed several of Annie's neighbours who claimed that they heard screaming, with Detective Turnage reporting the first screams were heard at around 11:15 p.m. and the 911 call came in at 2:59 a.m. So we were looking at almost a 4-hour time frame for this attack to be perpetrated on Anastasia. Matt spoke with authorities and claimed that he was at home playing games with Angela and the kids on the night of the murder. He said he had no reason to want his ex-wife dead. But while questioning Matt, detectives received security camera footage from Annie's apartment building, and this showed a vehicle that apparently matched Matt and Angela's car. When asked why his car was at the crime scene, Matt, who was noticeably struggling with mobility and pain during the police interview, claimed that he was asleep and couldn't say for sure why the car was there. Nice and vague there, Matthew. Detectives next interviewed Angela McGraw-Hester, who said that she and Matt were in a bitter custody battle with Annie, who she claimed wouldn't allow Matt to call his daughter. Angela denied that the car in the security footage was hers. She also claimed on the night of the murder she had thrown up on herself and Matt had helped clean her up. In sickness and in health, I guess.
And then I went to go potty and I ended up puking and myself at the same time.
Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry.
And that's I called Matt to help me, and he came and helped me. We took a shower to help get the poop off and rinse some of the sweat off of me because apparently I was sweating.
And obviously, we got to consider all possibilities here, and I'm sure you've seen TV. When we have situations like this, you know, everybody points to the ex-husband did it.
I want to help you guys because
I want to.
Sorry. The thing I'm worried about is my daughter.
I hear you. Matt, if you had anything to do with Anne's death, I need to know about it right now.
I did not. I would never do anything that would endanger my child.
Okay. And I'm glad to hear you say that because that tells me what kind of parent you are. Is there any reason why I find your DNA involved in that murder scene?
No.
Detectives spoke with Annie's friends, James and Brianne Morgenstern, who told them that Matt and Angela had tried to get full custody of Annie's daughter, resulting in a prolonged court battle, with them saying they filed for full custody, claiming that Annie was an unfit mother. In the meantime, detectives began to construct a timeline of events leading to Annie's deadly attack. As you would expect, the police cast a calculated eye over the ex-husband and his new wife. And this threw their behaviour and the custody proceedings into sharp focus. While Annie was working full-time and kept a tidy, if small, home, Matt and Angela lived in squalor and survived on government assistance. And Detective Turnage told of Matt's thoughts on parenting kids with alleged special needs. Matt explained that his children have different disabilities and get Social Security benefits or payouts from the state, so he lives off the proceeds of his kids' disabilities. What a wonderful parent. Anywho, a month before Annie's murder, a judge awarded her full custody of her daughter and ordered Matt to pay over $13,000 in back child support payments and $29,000 in legal bills. And now that they had found a motive, the evidence seemed to just keep stacking up. Annie had a $100,000 life insurance policy that listed her parents as beneficiaries. And her insurer contacted detectives to say that Matt had recently called up to see if he was eligible for a payout. What were the chances, Matthew? And looking into the background of Matt's wife, Angela, it seems that she shared similar beliefs to her husband when it came to children's health. Certainly according to Angela's ex-husband, Aaron McCraw, with him saying, "We had OCD, bipolar, autism, and another bipolar. Our divorce came down to the fact that I wanted to make sure my kids weren't getting poison and drugs in their body that they didn't need." In a similar vein, Angela became obsessed with the idea that Matt's daughter suffered from bipolar disorder. Annie, being a decent mother, disputed the claims and thought it was all part of the cash grab for disability benefits. No. Really though? Really? I find that hard to believe. The bloody boot print that had been left at the crime scene was ultimately matched to a woman's size and was matched to a retail store where Angela had made a purchase in 2015.
When we looked at her Google Maps history, 3 days after the homicide, she has a Google track that is essentially a breadcrumb trail that takes from about her house 35 miles up into the Mount Hood National Forest And when we watch her little breadcrumb trails travel around the Portland metro area, we see all the places that she usually goes. This one was an outlier. It was a flyer. She was there for 7.5 minutes, came back to town, and never went back there again. So the detectives went out to that spot in the road based on the GPS coordinates and stopped. There's an uphill side and a downhill side. We assumed that she would not take the energy to walk up the hill, so we went to the downhill side to look.
It's March 6, 2019.
It was snowing that day. It was blizzard, snowing, cold. Detectives walked about 100 yards or so down the creek, and there was a log jam. In that log jam, they found a boot wedged in the log jam. So they photographed it, documented it, videotaped the path in.
They found a boot in the log jam, a 9.5 Airwalk.
It was a 9.5 Airwalk Myra boot. And we were able to bring it back and send it off to our Oregon State Police Crime Lab. When they had the boot analyzed, they found that there was presumptive blood on the exterior of the boot. And they found that the shoe tread pattern matched the stamped shoe treads at the crime scene. In the springtime, we bring a dive team back out there. There was about 4 foot of water in the creek. We searched the whole area for hours, and one very determined diver analyzed the water patterns and said, if something was dumped in here, then we would find it in about this area. And that diver dug, and she dug, and she dug. And underneath about 18 inches of sediment, she found what felt like a plastic bag and a rock. So they excavate that something, and that something is a black plastic trash bag with a rock in it. Inside that bag, we found women's clothes. We found a sleeve to a like a pajama shirt that had a bunch of skulls, a black shirt with skulls all over it. When we were in Pocatello, we seized all of Angela's clothes. We found the matching pajama bottoms that match the sleeve of the shirt that we found in the creek bottom.
And so with all their ducks in a row and a final smoking gun being identified, in October of 2017, 37-year-old Angela McCraw Hester was arrested and charged with aggravated murder and first-degree burglary after her DNA was identified on one of the murder weapons.
No more. Detectives say they've arrested the woman behind a brutal murder tonight. This woman behind bars across state lines. It's 11 o'clock. I'm Jeff Canola. Jennifer is off tonight. It was back in June of last year when police arrived to a bloody crime scene to find 36-year-old Anastasia Hester stabbed to death in her Gresham apartment. Now, the wife of her ex-husband is in jail in Idaho. Our Cole Miller joins us live with the latest on this investigation and what comes next. Cole?
Well, Jeff, the arrest happened just this afternoon in Pocatello, Idaho. Police say Angela McCraw Hester, the person you see right here, carried out that violent murder and now begins the legal process of getting her back to Oregon to face both a judge and a jury.
I don't know really what to think about it.
June 10th, 2016, this Gresham apartment, the scene of what police call a horrific homicide.
It makes me a little nervous just knowing that it's so close to my home.
The victim, 36-year-old Anastasia Hester. She had called 911 after being stabbed, but died shortly after.
So violent, so brutal. I really thought we'd have something before now.
A year went by. No arrests had been made. Detectives had followed dozens of leads.
They took somebody out of this world that deserved to be here.
Anastasia's mother, Beth McBride, was desperate for answers. She spoke with Coin 6 a few months ago on the one-year anniversary of her daughter's death.
I don't know how the hell they could live with themselves. Whoever did this has to be found. It has to be.
Now, police say they've got the killer, arresting 35-year-old Angela McCraw Hester this afternoon, 650 miles away in Pocatello, Idaho. She's the wife of Anastasia's ex-husband.
This is going to bring up a lot of emotions, I think, both happy and sad emotions as they think about what they're missing out on, but also glad that somebody's in custody.
As for a motive, police aren't saying much, that those details will come out in court. Now begins the extradition process.
It could take anywhere from weeks to months. It just kind of depends.
She was a good person. She really was. I don't understand how anybody would want to do this to her.
And we had the chance to speak with McBride earlier today before she took off for Idaho. Anastasia's daughter lives there with McCraw Hester and Anastasia's ex-husband. She tells us she's relieved and very happy that an arrest has been made.
And funnily enough, I know you'll find this hard to believe, but Matt changed his story. What were the fucking odds? During questioning, Matt claimed that Angela came home on the night of Annie's murder covered in blood. He said he helped her clean herself up, but otherwise had nothing to do with the murder because he's a really nice guy, don't you know?
In the car. No! In the car. I have kids that are going to be coming home. Tell me why you're arresting me. Why am I being arrested, you stupid I have kids. I don't understand.
And I'm going to cut to the chase. Okay? You are under arrest for Anastasia's murder.
So you're saying that I killed her?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like a lawyer if that's the case.
Okay. All right.
Because I didn't. I was at home.
I just want to get done so I can get home to the kids. Here's the deal, okay? Our investigation clearly shows that Angela committed the murder against Anastasia. We're not here to discuss if it happened. I don't care what you think. In fact, you've been under surveillance for the last 2 weeks by the U.S. Marshals. So we've got you walking across the parking lot at Costco, picking up soda boxes and water bottles, whatever you were doing. You're not limping. You're not walking with a cane. I'm not buying the fibromyalgia. I'm not buying it, okay? That's her. She's cut the Andrew tried to decapitate her, cut all the way through her jaw, stabbed all over her face, carved a Roman numeral on her chest.
Based off the evidence, I don't have a choice but to accept what she did. Like, I just woke up, my wife's panicking, all of me. Okay, whatever you need, let's go get you. I take care. So I'm going to go upstairs, I have a good shower. She is bleeding.
What are you asking her? What is she saying?
She didn't say anything. She was shaking.
Okay. Did you ask her what happened to her? Why is she bleeding?
No, I was just getting her calmed down.
They tell you Anastasia's dead. Okay. You know that your wife came home in the middle of the night, cut up and bloody, and you go to take a shower. What are you thinking? In your mind, even though you don't want to believe it, what are you thinking?
It's possible that she didn't.
Oh. By the way, police also had footage showing the disabled Matt seeming perfectly spry and capable. Oh, Matt, no. Don't break my heart like this and do me dirty. What were the chances? Despite all of his protestations, Matt Hester, 38 years old, was arrested in the summer of 2019 and charged with 1 count of solicitation to commit murder, 2 counts of criminal conspiracy to commit murder, and 1 count of hindering prosecution. In November of 2020, Angela McCraw Hester pled guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison, with her being eligible for parole after serving 25 years. Matt Hester pleaded guilty in August of 2021 to solicitation to commit murder and hindering prosecution. He was sentenced to a massive 56 months in prison, with his earliest release date having been March of 2023. Angela and Matt divorced while in prison and are apparently no longer in contact. Angela's children were placed in foster care, while Matt and Annie's daughter is being raised by her maternal grandparents. A cockwomble couple there, ladies and gentlemen. How proud their parents must be. And so our thoughts turn to Anastasia Annie Hester.
Growing up, she liked to keep to herself more often and read, but then she would also surprise you and just come out and ride bikes with you and hang out with you.
She was indispensable at this company. She would juggle so many things at once. I never met anybody who could have so many balls in the air at one time and do so many jobs at once and do them all well. And she earned my respect immediately. She was a very good mom. She was attentive. She was strict when she needed to be, you know, when Alice was being, you know, a crazy little 2-year-old. But she was a really good mom, and she was loving and fun.
She was there always and always was very thoughtful to everybody. Even if it wasn't a holiday, she would just drop off flowers or like a little gift at your doorstep while you were at work, just because she wanted you to know that, you know, she was thinking of you and had missed you and wanted to hang out.
We saw her a lot. Family dynamics have definitely changed a bit throughout all of it. I mean, our Christmas, Easter, all the things that we would do together as a family. It just...
She was kind of the glue that brought everyone together, that kept everything going, like traditions and stuff.
After she passed away, there was restaurants that we didn't want to go to just because it was just hard to go and remember the last time that we went with her.
She was loyal, friendly, hard-working, and was doing all that she could to give her daughter a good life. Right up until her life was ended because of jealousy and a desire for more of that sweet, sweet disability money. She was a force for good in this world, and her death left a gaping void in the lives of those who knew her, not least her daughter. I send love to Annie's friends and family, and hope that Annie's daughter is shrouded and comforted within the love of Annie's parents. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. Please like, share and subscribe to give that algorithm a damn good kick up the arse. Thank you ever so much. But I'm Steve. This orange Permeister is Samson. And we will see you when we see you.